All right, welcome to Talking Investing. I am Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to talk about Marathon Digital Holdings, stock ticker MARA. They are a Bitcoin mining company. They put out their February operational update. They also put out another press release, so I want to go through both of those things. They're both important. We talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners all the time, so if that is content that you're interested in, please hit the subscribe button and smash the like button, and you can also hit the notification bell if you want notifications. Lastly, if you're interested, you can support the channel by hitting the join button on the YouTube page. It's right next to the subscribe button. We have a bunch of members-only content. We also have a members-only Discord, and we do a members-only once-a-week live stream. I appreciate everybody's support. Let's talk about Marathon Digital Holding. Okay, so if we take a look at where they're at right now, they're up a little bit on the day. The trading day is not over yet. This is Friday. Despite the fact that Bitcoin moved down significantly last night after the market closed, the Bitcoin miners are behaving okay today, and Marathon is actually up a little bit. So you'll see that leaves it at a market cap of around $746 million right now. So just for historical purposes, I always like to put that in perspective. This is a chart of their market cap over the last few years. So Marathon at its peak in November 8th of 2021, back when Bitcoin hit its all-time high, Marathon was a $7.5 billion company. So you can see from a market cap standpoint, they are still down 90% off of their highs. We'll look more at that on the charts later. For now, let's get to their operational update. Okay, Marathon Digital Holding announced Bitcoin production and mining operations update for February 2023. So some of the highlights they say at the top here: increased hash rate by 30%, energizing approximately 18,800 Bitcoin miners, or 2.2 exahash in February, so that is a big increase. Produced 683 Bitcoin in February 2023 and 1,370 Bitcoin quarter to date, so that's January and February. So that was actually a little bit less than January. Almost every single Bitcoin miner is gonna mine less in February than they did in January for two reasons. Number one, February has the least number of days in the month, and that does make a big difference. And number two, there were several other increases in the difficulty level for mining Bitcoin. So having said that, they mined 687 in January and 683 in February. So they were very, very close. Okay, this next one: increased unrestricted cash to 219.7 million and increased unrestricted Bitcoin holdings to 8,260, or the equivalence of about $191 million. So together, that's over $400 million. I want to go to a page from their investor presentation from about 2.5 months ago, because I think this is a very important comparison. Okay, so again, this is from December of 2022. In their investor presentation under recent company highlights, you'll see recent corporate updates: $61.7 million in unrestricted cash and $72.1 million in unrestricted Bitcoin, equaling 4,200 Bitcoin. So that's about $133 million unrestricted. In the 2.5 months subsequent to that, they have now gotten that up to over $400 million. So that is a massive, massive shift in the liquidity of this company. So that is a very, very strong move. A lot of that had to do with the increase in the price of Bitcoin in that time, because they do have a very large stack. They have the largest stack of Bitcoin. This is a quote from Fred Thiel, the chairman of Marathon and the CEO. "We successfully energized nearly 19,000 Bitcoin miners across multiple facets in February, with over 8,000 of these units consisting of S19 XPs. During the month, we increased our hash rate to 9.5 exahash, a 30% increase from the prior month. We also increased our average Bitcoin production per day by 10% compared to January, producing 683 Bitcoin in February." So they did increase their production by day. You'll see they had a huge increase in exahash. And you'll also note these X19 XPs, these are the 140s. These are powerful and more energy efficient machines. So hopefully in future financial statements, we're going to see that paying off for them. "We opted to sell 650 Bitcoin this month to offset operating expenses and for general corporate purposes." So this is another big, big change. In the month of January, they sold 1,500 Bitcoin. That's the first time Marathon ever sold any Bitcoin since they started mining. And now this month, in February, they sold 650 Bitcoin. So that's a little bit less than they mined, but the majority of what they mined in February, they used. So this would seem to be a definite shift in philosophy for Marathon. We'll see where this goes for the rest of the year. But having said that, they still do have a very large stack of Bitcoin, over 10,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So they go on to say, even with the sales, we increased our unrestricted Bitcoin holdings from 8,090 Bitcoin to 8,260 Bitcoin month over month. And we increased our unrestricted cash to $219.7 million. So again, that's a massive, massive shift in liquidity for this company. This is a very strong financial company. company. Their balance sheet is absolutely outstanding. There were a few months late last year where they had a line of credit that I did not like the terms of, and it was encumbering a lot of their Bitcoin. They've totally unwound that whole thing, and you can see they've had a big shift in liquidity. To continue advancing our operations and improve efficiency, our primary focus this year is to energize more miners and to optimize our fleet's performance. We remain confident in our ability to scale Marathon into one of the largest and most energy efficient Bitcoin mining operations globally by installing approximately 23 exahash of computing power near the middle of 2023. So if we look at figure 1, they kind of summarize these things. As of 2/28/2023, Bitcoin produced 683. We talked about that. Average Bitcoin per day, 24.4. Year over year, last year that was 12.9. So they have pretty close to doubled that year over year. Operational energized hash rate. So those are the machines that are plugged in and running, 9.5 exahash. Installed hash rate, they're already at 14 exahash. So there's another 4.5 exahash of machines that are plugged in waiting for energization. So this is an infrastructure situation. They're just waiting for the power to catch up with the number of machines that they have ready to mine Bitcoin. Okay, so quickly, I want to look at a chart of Marathon's production over the course of the last year. This goes from January of 2022 to February of 2023, so that's 14 months. You'll see last year, and we talked an awful lot about this in our monthly updates. Last year, for the first half of the year, this company was going through massive transitions. A lot of their infrastructure was way behind. They got all the way to the point where in July of 2022, they only mined 72 Bitcoin. For all intents and purposes, they had basically shut down their mining operations. But you can see they did get back in October to 615 Bitcoin. That was the first month that they mined the most Bitcoin out of all the publicly traded Bitcoin miners, with the exception of Core Scientific. So since then, they have not been in that position. Well, now in February of 2023, they find themselves back in that position. So in other words, they mined more than their closest competitors, which are Riot and CleanSpark and Bitfarms and Cypher. So the 683, although it's a little bit less than January, does represent progress for them, and it is a little bit better than everybody else was doing in the month of February. So you can see they've clearly changed their trajectory here. In November and December, they were down in the high 400s. Now they're in the high 600s. Likely, from this point forward, they will be mining 700 plus Bitcoin per month, and potentially substantially more than that by the end of the year, despite the fact that we've already had multiple increases in the difficulty level for Bitcoin mining in 2023. Okay, just another quick chart that I want to show you, because this is going to tie into what I want to talk about next. This is Bitcoin mined per quarter. So you'll see for 3 quarters in a row, they were pretty consistently mining between 1,100 and 1,200 Bitcoin. This dropped way down in Q2 of 2022. This is when their operational difficulties began. This is when they started to close their initial Bitcoin mining location and move all their machines now to Texas. So you'll see in Q4, that went up drastically to 1,562 Bitcoin. And there's a reason that I bring this up. The most recent financial statements that we have are from this quarter right here, Q3 of 2022. So I want to talk about cost per Bitcoin for a minute, but you're going to see for the last 2 quarters, their production was out of whack. This was very disproportionate for the size company they are, and they had a lot of things not really optimized. So that brings me to the next release that they had. On February 28th, they said Marathon Digital Holding cancels conference call and postpones publication of 4th quarter and fiscal year 2022 financial results. They're going to restate some numbers. They've said that it isn't going to impact their overall financial position. It's not going to impact their net income or any of those kind of things. So we'll have to wait and see what comes out. But the reason that I want to see this is the last piece of the puzzle for Marathon. The one piece that I'm worried about with them is their cost per coin. And it's been a long time since we've been able to get a good read on that, because the last 2 quarters in a row, their production was so low that when you look at their financial statements, their cost per coin seemed very, very high. So if I look at this chart, this is the last 2 quarters in a row. So this is June 30th, 2022 and September 30th, 2022. So again, we were going to get December 31st, 2022 a few days ago, and now that is delayed. And you can see the reason I'm waiting for that is if we look at all the Bitcoin miners, Marathon was basically in last place, and this is just a straight calculation from their financial statements. So this does not have anything to do with anything other than just raw raw data. This is the direct amount of cash costs that they had on their income statement divided by the number of Bitcoin that they mined. So they were up in the $22,000 or $23,000 range in the second and third quarters. Now, I suspect that number is going to come down substantially because, again, if we go to this chart, you'll see they much more than doubled their production, and I think they're going to get a lot of efficiencies out of that and bring that cost down because obviously at $22,000 a Bitcoin, this formula is not working for them. So we need to see what direction they're headed in. And again, I do expect to see a massive improvement over this $22,000 to $23,000 range that they've been in. And just for reference, this is cash costs only. This does not include depreciation. So you can see a lot of the leaders down here were at 8,000 and 9,800 and 10,000. That's CleanSpark, Hive, and Bitfarms. And then the middle of the pack was in the 13,000 to 14,000 range. So any of those were all still making money, even when Bitcoin hit its low in 2022 in the 15,500 range. So again, I'm looking for them to move back and start to be competitive with Hut and Riot and Core Scientific and Bit Digital. Okay, just quickly to take a look at their chart. This is Marathon on the 1 week time frame. So from their all-time high back in November of 2021, and that's when Bitcoin hit its all-time high, Marathon is still down almost 92% right now. Now, obviously Bitcoin is way, way off of its all-time highs. But if we zoom in, you're gonna see, as I do on all my charts, I have a green line here in the middle of August. This is the last time, August of 2022, that Bitcoin was trading at around $25,000. Now, we actually are a few $1,000s lower than that right now, but last week Bitcoin did get up to this $25,000 mark again. There were 5 days where it did cross over $25,000. But yet you can see Marathon never got anywhere near this green line here. It would actually take another 192% move to the upside for Marathon to get back to where it was trading in August of 2022, and that was just under $19. And remember, in August of 2022, that was in the middle of those 2 quarters where operations were almost at a standstill. Bitcoin was at $25,000. So we're in an apples to apples situation. I would expect Marathon's market cap to be much higher than it was at that time, but yet they still need to increase 192% just to get back to where they were at that time. So just to look at this the other way, they are 52% off of their lows from about 2.5 months ago. So should Bitcoin actually turn around and fail some of these lines that it's testing right now and revisit its lows, there's a bunch of room to the downside, but you can see the risk reward on this. So, 52% off of their recent lows, 192% off of where they were in August of 2022, the last time Bitcoin was trading at around this price. You guys need to do your own due diligence and your own risk tolerance. So this is an extremely volatile stock. I think overall, to sum up, I feel like they had a very good February. This was a good report. Everything is trending in the right direction for them. The one thing we need to see is they did delay their financial statement release. So once we get that, that's going to help us understand whether or not this company is profitable. So that's all I got for you on Marathon right now. So thanks so much for watching. And remember, if you have not yet, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. And I will see you in the next video.